Mike Martin again, New York City Sidewalks. I'm here with the Parks Department, New York City Parks Department, and we're going to take a look at this property in Queens, this gorgeous slate sidewalk. Nice to meet you, sir. Mike Martin.
Brian Dugan.
Brian, thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, the most important thing is you can't cut the tree roots.
Right.
We used to cut the tree roots a long time ago, but we don't do it anymore. A lot of times when they do the road, the roots were cut a long time ago, so this is what's holding up the tree a lot on this area. What we do now, instead of cutting the roots, we ramp. It's like a bridge that goes up and over the root. So instead of cutting the root, it's the alternative that we usually use. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we do a curve. We'll curve the sidewalk away from the tree, give a little bit more room. Sometimes we'll curve it up over onto, people think this is the front lawn, it's still city property, usually half the distance of the road, city property. Sometimes we'll curve it a foot away from the tree and curve it up onto here. Basically, I drew a couple designs here. The minimum a sidewalk could be is 3'6" for wheelchair disability acts. This is a 4 foot. This is slate, or sometimes called bluestone. We don't usually have these, only in historic districts usually. We do concrete sidewalks 4 inches thick. If there's a driveway or a driveway apron, it's usually 7 inches thick. So it's a little thicker where the driveways, where the cars are moving. Mm-hmm. This is 4 trees here. We have some maples over here, 2 maples, about 22 inches each. We got some bigger oaks out on 63rd Avenue. I did the design for all 4 trees, the 63rd Avenue, and basically I kind of did the same thing. I was going to move it 6 inches off away from the tree, just give it that much more breathing room. The closer you get to the tree, the thicker, the bigger the roots are. So by moving it 6 inches, it gives you that much more time. A lot of times, when people put their sidewalks back, they just put them back the way they are. This tree's getting bigger all the time. Within a year, 2 years, this tree's growing, it's going to crack it. So by giving it that little bit, like I say, breathing room, it'll buy you more time before it starts damaging the sidewalk again. I would go more than 6 inches if I could, but the sidewalk, I said, is 4 feet, so you don't want to lose. You need that 3'6" mm-hmm. for the wheelchairs. Another option, like I told him, was to do a curve up over here toward the house. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people don't want to do that because they think they're losing their front property. But like I said, it's still New York City owns probably well into the front lawn. It's usually 30 foot, half the distance of the road, so it's usually 30 foot roads usually. That's just a rough
mm-hmm.
guess, but so that would be 15 feet from the curb, which would be probably well onto here.
Well, Barry, you're the owner. Do you have any problem with coming in? I mean, is that an issue for you to create?
No, I don't think it's an issue.
So we could come in 12 inches to give him more assurances and then just curve it to make sure we're making that 3'6".
That'd be the best, I think, for the tree. Okay. But like I said, a lot of times people don't want to do that. He's got we have a tree and sidewalk program as well. I was telling him about that.
Yep.
It's for tax class 1 homeowners, single and 2 family homes. They send an inspector out and they'll give the sidewalk a rating between 0 and 100 based on 5 categories. One is location. If it was like downtown Jamaica, it would get a very high rating.
Based on foot traffic, I assume.
Yeah, if it's a dead-end road, it would get the lowest rating. The second one is is it the whole sidewalk that's lifted up? In this case, it is. So there would be, I think it's 30 points for that. The big one is the lift. That's the trip hazard. They give you 6 points for every inch. So I've seen sidewalks like 6, 7 inches high. This might be 2, 3 inches here, so he would get like an 18 or something like that. Then it's how many flags are affected, and they give you 5 flags max.
Oh.
And he's got well over that, so he would get the max
Beautiful.
on that.
That's great.
And he would, the last one is a tree condition, and he's got some nice looking trees, so he'd probably get a high rating like that. The program started in 2005, and unfortunately there's still people with 60 ratings that we're waiting to get to, because today somebody getting a 70, pushing the 60 back. We're trying to concentrate on the worst trip and fall hazards to reduce the lawsuit type things, and try to get the worst ones first. So we're doing the 99s first, and working our way. I was just telling him, the council member, just recently council members and assembly members are coming up with their own funding. And Ulrich's area, which is right here, he just came up with, I think it was over $1 million. So we took care of all the 60 ratings, I think, for him. And I just seen that recently. Usually it's mayoral funded, and they give you a certain amount for community board. And we start at 99 until we run out of the money they give us.
Got it. So
sometimes it takes just a year or two to get to you, depending on your score. But I recommend joining that. Tree and Sidewalk program shows you're trying to do something about it. And if somebody was to trip and fall, it shares the liability now with the city. It shows you're trying to do something.
You know, a lot of my clients, you know, I do sidewalk management. I'm not a forester, but I help owners manage the sidewalk, put together the right people to show up and do the job. That's what I do. I'm from a company called New York City Sidewalks.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a small cottage company industry that I created because I realized there were a lot of clients that really needed some support in helping turnkey some of these difficult processes. So what does an individual who may have a high rating do when they're trying to refinance, modify their mortgage, trying to get a product, and they're being pressured because the title company is coming up with a violation on file? Are there any points that are being awarded or any talk about elevating some people's status to help them in these areas?
I haven't heard anything like that. I mean, it's a matter of just waiting for us to get to you. And that's even if you're on the contract, it depends on weather, things like that, you know, machinery breaking down. So there's no guarantee exactly when we can get to you. Hopefully we can get to you before the lien, you know, the homeowner selling the house,
right?
But we can't guarantee that. That's
right, of course. You know, sometimes I know that we can also apply to the comptroller's office. In other words, if the owner was to come in and do the work themselves,
I've heard of that.
They may be able to go back to the comptroller's office. So I do have some clients that have taken advantage of that as well. We would use your documentation in order to document the process, then make sure that it was in fact, you know, a full 5-flag rating, or whatever it was, and then from there we would then go forth to the comptroller's office because the owner went. Yeah, the owner went off and
I've heard of that.
Put all their money out.
I haven't actually heard of anybody getting reimbursed. It's quite possible it happens. I'm not sure, but
yeah, no, it certainly does happen.
Yeah,
it certainly does happen, but it's a process, and it's a risk on the owner's part, right? Because it could be only a percentage.
Right.
It's not always 100%, but through your program, it's a 100% replacement. For the effective flags.
See, we might not do the whole sidewalk. We do the flags that are uplifted due to the tree roots.
Right, understood.
So a lot of times we can't do, like a corner property like this, we can't do the whole thing, but we'll do the area where it's affected by the tree roots.
Will you do it for a fee and come in and do the ADA compliant corner? In other words, or
there's no fee. It's not taxpayer dollars.
I see, but you wouldn't do the parts that are not within your jurisdiction. You would have to contract that separately. Is that what you're telling me?
That's right.
I see. Okay.
So that's why I drew this. Like, I could have drawn the whole sidewalk, but I had to draw
5 flags.
Yeah, well, it's usually the ones I designed. The tree's usually 10 foot, so 10 feet each side of the tree.
Right.
You know, I could have done the whole thing, but we're not going to go.
Right.
Do the whole, so we can't do people's driveways.
Right.
Every once in a while, if it's still going to be a trip hazard, sometimes we'll have to include the driveway. But in this case, we wouldn't do it because the driveway is not being affected by the tree roots.
Right. Understood.
So I'm going to give this to you. Sure. I'll show you a couple things. Yeah, this is like I said, a lot of times people will put it back the way it is. That's not going to last very long. Right. We have a thing called ramping, and they put a steel fabric reinforced mat over the root, and they pour the concrete over that. Your contractor would probably understand this better than I can explain it, but we do this all the time, and it's been working really well.
Oh, yes, I'm very familiar with the process.
Let me make some copies. How many would you like?
I just need a copy of this one.
Okay.
And you keep the rest, and you can keep the original.
Okay. Copy for you, obviously.
That'll be great, yeah.
I got another one to go in Long Island City in about 30 minutes. I got to get going soon.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you coming out and sharing with all of my YouTube viewers, because on the channel there are so many people that are just wanting to do the right thing, and their own ignorance will kill a beautiful sugar maple or destroy a fantastic oak that the Parks Department has invested so much time and energy into making this a gorgeous sidewalk and making New York City a destination place to live. So I want to thank you for coming out and sharing, because, you know, we need to be educated. We need to let people know it's not appropriate to come in and cut these roots.
No, that's the most important thing, is do not cut the roots. If they catch you cutting the roots, there's going to be a fine and a tree damage report, and it's actually called arboricide.
Arbicide.
Yeah,
I
it'll
love
end
it.
up, sometimes the fine will cost more than the sidewalk would cost you in original. If you were going to pay for it yourself, the fine could cost as much as a new sidewalk. So you have to be very careful around the tree roots, especially here in New York City.
Yeah, and I say on top of that, you really can't put a dollar amount on a gorgeous sugar maple like
No,
this. You
no.
cannot put it. I mean, look at this thing.
As the tree matures, the value goes up.
Absolutely.
You can't
absolutely.
replace that.
Yeah. Oh, you cannot. You cannot. You know how many years it takes to grow a tree like that? It's got to be 60 years, something like that at least. I'm guessing, because it's magnificent and it just makes a big difference in
These
New
were
York
here
City.
before I was born.
For sure, for sure. Well, we thank you for your efforts and all the
problem.
work that you
It's great
do.
meeting you.
Great to meet you. Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem.
Be well.
Have a good day.